Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court, the Refugee Executive Order, and Sally Yates' firing. I'm Simon Harrington, and this is the Square Circle. Hello and welcome to the Square Circle. I'm your host, Simon Harrington. Joining us today are Bill Buck of MyWallet.com, Gregory Clay of GDClay.com, and Philip Wegmann of the Washington Examiner. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. President Trump made his most high-profile nomination yet, selecting appellate judge Neil Gorsuch for the U.S. Supreme Court. Here's CNN's coverage.
In a primetime reveal, President Trump unveiling Judge Neil Gorsuch as his nominee to the Supreme Court, setting up a battle between Senate Republicans
I think it was an absolute home run.
and Democrats, who were vowing a confirmation fight after President Obama's nominee to fill the seat of the late Justice Antonin Scalia was blocked for 10 months.
If I conclude that he is out of the mainstream on issues like privacy rights, including women's health care and Roe v. Wade, or workers and consumer protection, I will use every tool at my disposal to block his nomination.
Gregory Clay. It can be said that the first week and a half of the President Trump administration has been contentious, to say the least. How do you see the appointment of appellate judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court playing out with the Senate Judicial Committee? Is it going to be cordial or combative? And what's the likelihood of confirmation?
Well, as we have seen, everything that Donald Trump has been involved in has been combative. Somebody has been on his case about something the whole time. And we've seen the walkouts during the confirmation hearings by the Democrats. And, we've seen the contentiousness. Jeff Sessions was grilled big time, as well as Betsy DeVos, more than Jeff Sessions. And I doubt it would be any different for Neil Gorsuch. One thing about Neil Gorsuch, and you can kind of tell what's going to happen because Nancy Pelosi of the House was on Jake Tapper's town hall meeting the other night, and she roasted Neil Gorsuch. And it's going to be, I'm sure, more histrionics, more anger, more contentiousness, et cetera, et cetera. Although one thing I have to say, Donald Trump, in terms of healing, could have done something to help the country if he would have chosen a more moderate person, a la Merrick Garland, because I think that would have helped in terms of the healing process.
But let's, we have Neil Gorsuch. Let's go with that. Do you feel like he will be confirmed at the end?
Oh, yeah, I think it'll be confirmed, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Bill Buck, would you like to comment on the Judge Gorsuch?
Well, I would say I think based on the Garland standard that the Republicans have put in place, it's going to be a contentious period, and it should be. Democrats and a good majority of the public understand that what happened last year was unprecedented. Nobody has ever held up a legitimate nominee like that. And I think that, there's going to be a lot of payback for that. In addition to that, you've never seen a president rise above 50% disapproval as fast as President Trump has. It took him 8 days.
Go ahead.
Yeah, over 50% disapproval already.
Disapproval, sorry. I thought
Correct.
you said approval. Yes, okay.
No. What most presidents take months or years to accomplish, he managed to do in 8 days. So it will be interesting to see how much political capital he has. I think that the administration, has gotten off to a lot of bad starts. You saw it with the rollout of this cabinet, the lack of vetting, the sort of unprofessionalism, the sort of disregard for the normal standard vetting practices that happen with cabinet nominees, the sort of normal practices of good government. And you've seen that not just there, but you've seen that with what happened with the ban that they rolled out on Friday that was not thought out at all, and I think intentionally ignored the interagency process. And now the details that are coming out about the raid in Yemen, this administration does not know what it's doing. And
Well, let's go back to just keep it on topic with the Gorsuch.
But I think that will affect what happens with the Gorsuch nomination, because
Democrats are going to play more hardball, or
they absolutely will.
Okay.
I mean, you've seen, I think a sort of spinal transfusion or insertion.
Let's give Philip a
Yeah,
chance
we'll give him a
to
chance to
talk
talk
on the Gorsuch nomination.
I would definitely disagree. We've seen a lot of disarray when it comes to the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration, but when it comes to the nomination of Gorsuch, they were on the ball when it came to this one. In Gorsuch, you have a nominee who is going to be a one-to-one trade. When you look at who he's replacing, he's not going to shift the ideological balance of the court. He's going to be much like Anthony Scalia. But while Democrats really do want their pound of flesh because they feel that they were mistreated last year, Chuck Schumer really needs to think this one through, because there are three numbers that he needs to remember. They're 78, 80, and 83. Those are the ages of the three oldest liberal justices on the court, Breyer, Kennedy, and Ginsburg. And if he wants to try and bork Gorsuch, if he pushes too hard, then you're going to have Mitch McConnell go nuclear. And if that happens, there's going to be nothing.
Using the nuclear option.
Using the nuclear option to reduce the voting threshold from the supermajority that you need to confirm at 60 to a simple majority of 51. And if you do that, then next time around, should one of those more liberal justices retire or pass away, then Chuck Schumer's not going to have any recourse, and there's going to be nothing to stop Donald Trump and the Republicans from putting forward an incredibly extreme nominee that would make Gorsuch look like a cakewalk.
Wegmann makes a great point. Assuming Donald Trump finishes out his 4-year term, I mean, there's all this talk about impeachment, blah, blah, blah. Alan Lichtman, guarantees an impeachment of Donald Trump at some point. The presidential historian at, where is he, at American University, right? And because he declared that Donald Trump would not finish the term. But anyway, Wegmann makes a great point, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Stephen Breyer, Anthony Kennedy, 79, 80, 83, Donald Trump could appoint at least three more Supreme Court justices. And it could be 4. Because remember, a couple of months ago, Clarence Thomas was talking about possible early retirement. It could be 4. And, so I mean, it could totally shift these balance of the Supreme Court, especially if he keeps naming relatively young people like Neil Gorsuch, 49 going on 50, for the next 30 years. Trump would be dead.
So it sounds like everybody's in agreement, though. It's going to be contentious. The hearings. It's going to be fireworks. Can we all agree? And you say, yes, he will be confirmed, or no?
I think that he's likely to be confirmed, but I think it's going to take a long time. And I think, to your point, though, about what happens if a liberal justice passes away or retires, you're going to get the same kind of person. He's not nominating anything to the left of the person he's nominating now.
So you would see Trump not cutting a deal next time around, instead just trying to push the ideological needle as far as possible for the next nominee.
I take him at his word. He has done everything that he has said. He said there was going to be a Muslim ban. There's a Muslim ban. There's going to be a registry. It's not today, but there's going to be a registry. There's going to be a wall. And the kind of judges he said he was going to nominate, he's not going to the left of that.
All
now,
right, so we
in
have
2 years, we see where the Senate goes.
You feel like he's going to be confirmed at the end of the day as well?
I think so. Chuck Schumer, he promised the Democrats that there would be a fight, but at this point, he's in a tight box. He can bruise Gorsuch, but again, he can't bork him.
Okay. I'd like to remind our audience that you can submit your questions to our guests through our website, publicsquare.net, and we'll answer as many as we can live on air toward the end of the show. Another big story this week was President Trump's executive order suspending immigration from certain Middle Eastern countries.
For the White House, it's a chance to turn the spotlight from the growing backlash over the president's executive order on immigration and refugees. The fallout continuing, with more than 900 State Department diplomats signing a memo of dissent against the travel ban. House Speaker Paul Ryan admitting the rollout was unusually rough.
Regrettably, the rollout was confusing, but on a go-forward basis, I'm confident that Secretary Kelly is going to make sure that this is done correctly.
Philip Wegmann, how would you describe the fiasco that unfolded regarding the travel restrictions this week placed on 7 previously determined countries? And can you explain some of the reasons for the confusion and the uproar?
Well, I think that's the million-dollar question, to figure out what exactly went wrong. There are so many things where the Trump administration dropped the ball, pointing to just one faulty decision is going to be really difficult. But while this was controversial, and while they did botch that rollout, it shouldn't be surprising. You know, to your point earlier, Donald Trump, we're finding out, is a man of his word. He's delivering on that deal. He said that he was going to, get tough on immigration, and that he was going to beef up national security, and that's exactly what he's trying to do with this travel ban. But let's not forget for a moment, this is what the electorate bought on to when they pulled the lever for Trump in the voting booth. But I think that the media does do a disservice when we describe this as a Muslim ban for 2 reasons. First, it's not directed towards any particular religion. If you see the countries, the 7 countries that are listed, they're limited. Not one of those is one of the largest Islamic nations in the country. And second, it's not a ban because it's a 90-day pause. One of the things that is most telling about this is that Trump is actually following the advice of the previous administration. One of the times that James Comey, FBI director, and Jay Johnson of Homeland Security, when they actually agreed, was when they said that the vetting system needed to be evaluated. And I think that this pause is what's needed to look through and evaluate the system.
Okay, Bill Buck, how would you like to respond to Phil?
Well, I would add that it's ironic that while they aren't the largest by population Muslim, they are heavily, a much larger percentage Muslim than most other countries. They also happen to be countries that Mr. Trump is not doing business in. I think there are a lot of questions about the conflicts there. The way this was rolled out was irresponsible. It shows complete incompetence. When you have 5-year-olds handcuffed at an airport, that's preposterous, and it's going to get more Americans killed, not fewer. It doesn't make us safer. It does, and it doesn't. No one has said there is a problem with 5-year-olds coming into this country and killing people. The 5-year-olds that kill people in this country they're domestic, and they get a hold of a gun in a house.
Okay, let's have Gregory Clay respond.
Yeah, again, I agree with Wegmann. I don't know why people are so shocked by this, because Donald Trump talked about the national security situation for almost 2 years, and he's going down the list one by one of what he said. I'm going to do this, and that, et cetera, and he's moving at a furious pace. He's trying to do everything he can. You can tell in his first 100 days, and it all goes back to what Newt Gingrich said during Christmas week 2016. What did Newt Gingrich say? He said that by Easter, you will need a microscope to find Barack Obama's legacy. And that Donald Trump's rate, I don't discount anything what Newt Gingrich said.
Bouncing off of that really quickly, we are seeing, as a result, the lesson of why governing with just a pen and a phone, like President Obama did, through executive order and through administrative fiat, is dangerous, because it's
a weakness.
It's a weakness. Your successor can come and flip the switches in the other direction.
Right.
As far as to your earlier point about the fact that they were countries that Trump wasn't doing business in, that they were predominantly Muslim. The one thing that I would add to that is that they also have evolving terror threats that are there right now. And it seems that when you look at, for instance, the San Bernardino attackers, and if you accept the premise that all United States government actions are for the benefit of U.S. citizens in order to keep them safe, then I think that it is within it's responsible for the government to stop and vet the system before we allow individuals to come into the country.
And what about that, if I can add, Bill Buck, for myself, just watching it all unfold, this is just 7 of the Muslim countries. I'm sure that there's many more in the world that are not part of the ban, so where does that come in as far as a Muslim ban in that sense, as you want to say?
I believe that this is the beginning. I believe that the registry is, not far behind. The way this was rolled out is just, it's indefensible the way they rolled this out. It's bad government. It's intentionally bad government, probably. It's also a certain measure of incompetence. I can't imagine that General Kelly was very happy at the way he was treated about finding out about this on television. There's a big learning curve and, a huge level of incompetence to this administration that, again, if you look at what happened in Yemen and the details that are coming out, that really poorly played out raid, these ill-conceived sort of back of the napkin, I'm going to tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning and make some other decision at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's how we're going to roll.
How much of a tactic?
It's not smart.
Finally, another major story related to the executive order was the firing of Acting Attorney General Sally Yates. Here's the story from NBC News.
We had a Monday night massacre.
That massacre referring to President Trump's firing overnight of Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, an Obama holdover. The dismissal coming just hours after Yates ordered Justice Department lawyers not to defend Trump's controversial travel ban. The White House saying Yates betrayed the department, naming a new Acting Attorney General, Dana Benty, until Senator Jeff Sessions can be confirmed.
Bill Buck, who crossed the line further? Acting U.S. Attorney Sally Yates for sending the memo ordering Justice Department officials not to enforce President Trump's executive order, or President Trump himself for firing a government employee for her stance against arguing for the travel restrictions that she deemed unlawful?
Well, ironically, I will say that Senator Sessions answered that question when he was questioning Ms. Yates about not listening to the president and not giving in to political pressure. Now, he was talking about Mr. Obama and not Mr. Trump, but he explicitly said that the role of the Justice Department is to do exactly what she did. So I would say that it was the Trump administration that it was such a massive overreaction, but at the same time, it's sort of interesting to see how the counter-Trump movement suddenly had a hero overnight. Like, people were ready to run her for president in 4 years based on what she did. Again, Trump's already over 50 in disapproval. There is an incredible energy out in the country. And I think both on the law, she did the right thing on the law. As far as what that means for the politics of today, I think you're going to see more and more people sort of standing up to what's going on.
Okay. Gregory Clay, how would you like to respond?
Well, I guess the Sally Yates situation, I may as well do it myself, because so many other folk are doing it. I can see the parallel. The Sally Yates thing was Monday night, as I remember. It was called the Monday Night Massacre. And it brings back, conjures up history, 1973, we remember Saturday Night Massacre, Richard Nixon, Elliot Richardson, William Ruckelshaus, and as it ended, your boy, Mr. Bork, finally ended up firing Archibald Cox. He was the, third or fourth guy, acting attorney general, because at the time he was the solicitor general.
Right.
And because Elliot Richardson and William Ruckelshaus refused to obey Richard Nixon's orders, they all resigned on the spot. It came to Mr. Bork. He was the dutiful guy. He was a guy who genuflected to Richard Nixon and said, okay, I'll take care of it. He fired Archibald Cox. So here we go again, 1973, 2017, So I guess what goes around comes around.
Bill, to that.
Well,
And then we'll come back to you, Phil.
I believe that, what would have been the right thing for the administration would be to take a deep breath and sort of slow this down and not throw gasoline on the fire. But they seem to like to throw gasoline on top of a natural gas fire.
Okay. And Philip, how would you?
So I'm too young to remember 1973, the Nixon administration. I've only read about in books. But one thing that I do remember is an episode that happened quite recently, which was Kim Davis, the county clerk, who said that she was not going to. She was not going to issue these marriage licenses. I find it so fascinating that today the left is talking about conscience rights. We're talking about government bureaucrats standing up and going their own way and flouting the administration. Well, I wonder where was the left when Kim Davis said, I disagree, I can't do this.
Are you equating Kim Davis with the Attorney General of the United States of America?
I think that both of them were at a moment where they said this is something that they couldn't do. But there is a difference, though. Kim Davis was operating under Kentucky's government. She knew what she was getting into. She was a civil servant. She knew what the law was. Miss Yates, she saw a new administration come in. If she had a problem with what we all knew was going to happen, this travel ban, which we've been talking about for months before the Trump administration even got to town, she should have said something. She should have recused herself rather than waiting at the last minute to throw a wrench in the works. That's if Miss Yates wants to express her own opinions and thwart the executive, she can run for Congress.
Have you worked in the executive branch? Do you understand how the interagency process works? Do you understand?
Well, I'm here for you to enlighten me. Tell me more.
Normally during a process,
it's a political appointment.
Well, let's just keep to the topic, though, and so.
No, but normally during a process like this, the Attorney General would have been involved in the drafting of this ban.
So
let's let Gregory finish off. And then
plus, wasn't Sally Yates a holdover from the Obama administration? So you would largely think would be on the Democratic side. The difference here and what happened in '73 was Richard Nixon was dealing with his own guys. They were all Republicans,
Right.
and Sally Yates is a holdover from the opposite side, and I guess her thing was, okay, I'm going to show partisanship and stand up for the old Democratic standard, because she wasn't a Trump person in the first place, unlike 1973 with Richard Nixon and his henchmen. That's a major difference.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our final topic, or our questions from viewers. The first one from Phyllis Davidson. How long can the Democrats keep the Supreme Court seat vacant before public opinion turns against them? So we've already talked about the Supreme Court. We'll let you start, Bill.
Well, I think that we've seen that public opinion doesn't turn on Supreme Court seats. So I don't think public opinion is the thing that's going to drive that. You saw, a 10-month delay, and the public didn't get incredibly exercised about it one way or the other. In general, I don't think the public gets super exercised over Supreme Court nominees.
Second question comes from Phil Hampton, who would like to know, was it a mistake to issue the executive order on refugees before Trump's entire team is in place?
Oh, definitely.
Gregory.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what was so bizarre about that. He implemented this ban or pause, whatever kind of word you want to use for it, before he had any of the key people confirmed. Rex Tillerson, and Secretary of State, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions still hanging. U.S. Attorney General, and but again, it goes back to what I said earlier about getting all this stuff done as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, the first 100 days. It's like Donald Trump has put himself on this fast-paced super clock. I'm not talking Big Ben. That's too slow. That's too slow. I mean, my boy is going Star Trek. And what's the word? Warp? We're talking warp speed. There you go.
There you go.
That's
good one to end on. So, Okay, now it's time for our most underreported stories of the week, and why don't we start with Phil?
Just the other day, Congress moved forward and they passed a Congressional Review Act to begin rolling back Obama's war on coal. Their CRA took aim at a little-known Department of Interior rule called the Streams Rule, which the coal industry charges would have cost them billions of dollars. And so if this does make it to Trump's desk and he does sign it, then not only will it, bring to a close the war on coal, but it could signal that it's, a new day in America for the much maligned hydrocarbon.
Okay, Gregory Clay, your story of the week. Underreported story.
Most underreported story of the week for me is the situation at Baylor, which is shameful. I'm surprised.
Tell me about it. I don't know about this one.
That the situation in Baylor in regards to the rape culture there.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
One of the women involved, or allegedly involved, filed a major lawsuit, Title IX federal lawsuit against Baylor, and some of the details in that lawsuit are just out of this world. She claimed that there were at least 52 rapes committed by football players between the time period of, I believe, was it 2011 to 2014, I believe, and the coaches at Baylor tried to use racial stereotypes to recruit black players. Supposedly they went to high schools and asked the black players if they wanted to go out and have sex with white women.
Are these currently allegations that this?
Yeah, these are allegations in the lawsuit, and supposedly the coaches supposedly use that as a carrot to attract black players. And I just don't see how the NCAA and the Big 12, because Baylor's a member of the Big 12, cannot investigate this further and give Baylor the death penalty the way the NCAA gave the death penalty in 1987 against SMU.
Okay. Bill Buck, your underreported story.
I'm going to go with a much lighter story. Will Vladimir Putin be wearing his Patriots Super Bowl ring?
That's right, he stole it from Robert Kraft.
Well, I mean, that's the Robert Kraft version once he gets back to the United States. But you do have an interesting union of Kraft, Trump, Putin. I wonder if they'll all sort of figure out some way to watch this game together in some way.
All right, that's all for this week. I'm Simon Harrington. Thanks for watching The Square Circle, and we'll see you next week.
If you have a passion for helping people, want to launch a new charity, or need to raise funds, Voluntary Solutions can help. You have a passion for helping people. We have a passion for helping you. Visit voluntarysolutionsdc.com 844-739-5488.